All right, now it's time for the gaming section of the episode, and today I've got a very big title that's still in development, but it's making waves and splashing about in the gaming scene, and everyone is talking about this one. It's called Kingdom Come Deliverance. In the recent E3, it really showed off a new build and new features and new stuff like that, and basically it's sort of one of those games that is really bringing gameplay to the next level of realism in terms of medieval RPGs. So what's Kingdom Come Deliverance all about? It's set in 1400s in Bohemia, which is modern-day Czech Republic. It's set in the medieval era, and you're the son of a blacksmith, and basically your family met some misfortune and you're out for revenge, and there's two kings or two people trying to be king, and you gotta go along your quest to sort this out. People are calling this Skyrim without dragons. It's basically a medieval RPG, but not fantasy. They're going in the very realistic direction, which hasn't really been done very well. But Kingdom Come Deliverance is looking very, very promising. So let's jump into the game and see what's actually available now and where it could possibly go next. Well, there's a lot still missing from the game, and they're planning for the beta phase to start sometime early next year and full release to be about mid next year. So when it comes to the gaming world, you sometimes got to look forward to see what's going on and just keeping a pulse on everything that's going on, because these sorts of developments sort of influence the games around them. So far in the gameplay itself, the first thing that's going to hit you right off the bat is the visual. It looks absolutely amazing. I'm using this fantastic Alienware right here, and it's run for its money. In terms of gameplay, there's a few interesting elements. So first of all, it is going to be an RPG, a first-person RPG, where you're sort of roaming around the world, sort of Skyrim style, but instead of all the fantasy and magic and dragons and ruins and stuff like that, you're actually going through the political and economic landscape of this medieval world and solving quests in similar styles. A few interesting points. For example, the combat that they're working on, it relies on kinesthetics. Well, what it means is that instead of in a traditional RPG or first-person games, when you take a swing with your sword or shoot a bow and arrow or shoot anything really, and it hits the enemy or whoever you're trying to hit, well, then it'll do some calculations, how much damage you should be doing, how much strength you have, what's the sharpness of the blade, what armor is the person wearing, and it'll do a calculation and say, okay, you're doing this much damage to this person. But in kinesthetic-based combat, it's actually physics-based. So if you take a swing with your sword and the person's wearing metal plate armor, it will actually hit the metal plate armor and most likely bounce off, and you have to sort of swing in the right directions and attack in the right ways, and even if you're shooting bows and arrows, you need to hit the right places because it's going to take all the armor and padding and all of that into account. So this is the idea of kinesthetic-based combat. It's way more realistic, but way harder to master, and this is what they're developing right now in Kingdom Come Deliverance. But the whole theme and aesthetic of Kingdom Come Deliverance is going to be very, very realistic. They've brought on historians and archaeologists and all sorts of really trained, talented people to make sure the accuracy of everything is really on point. So even the music in the game is going to be on point and realistic to the time period of the 1400s. Well, one problem with game development from these indie companies is what's called feature creep. Feature creep is when they have these stretch goals, so saying like, oh, we're looking for $100,000 but if we get $200,000 we'll add on new features. And this can actually be an endless cycle of them raising money and adding more and more features. And what has happened a lot in the past is they've promised so many features to the point where the core gameplay suffers, and in the end they release a product that is really not polished, not finished, and all of that. But on the main website of Kingdom Come Deliverance, they've reached their target and have actually added a note there: we are not adding any more stretch goals until we've finished what we have promised. Second of all, the whole game overall is currently incomplete, but what we've seen so far, this sort of small amount, is really, really promising, really, really innovative, and it looks really good. So even as an early access alpha, it's better than a lot of games out there, even though right now you only have this sort of small area to explore. But they've promised updates every 2 to 3 months, and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger up until the beta phase, which is early next year, which is not that far off really. and then we're going to have a much more complete game to work on. But to get into these early access alphas and betas, you do have to sort of buy a certain tier, so which is about $40 US, which is about 130 to 40 ringgit, depending on the exchange rate at the time, which is not a small amount, but it's not an insane amount for a game that's promising to be AAA. So overall, Kingdom Come Deliverance is looking really, really good, really, really promising, and you have to sort of keep an eye on it to see how it develops. So, before we go, I'm gonna thank our wonderful host here, the Bee at Publica. And for those of you celebrating Hari Raya, Selamat Hari Raya to you. I'm gonna have a good time here and probably get myself some dinner right over there.
1,003, 1,301. Sorry, just keeping track of how many steps I've taken, how many calories I've burned today. It's pretty nifty, this Fitbit watch. Now, once again, a very, very Selamat Hari Raya to all those celebrating out there, from everyone here at Astro Awani and Gadget Nation as well. Hope you've had a good one so far, and remember, try to keep a little bit fit afterwards as well, like I'm trying to right now. More in store next week. Personally, I cannot wait. Same time, same place. My name's Adam Carruthers. Till next time, bye.